A lot of people hate Air Canada, but some say it's the best airline in North America. After this business class trip, my mind is made up. Today I'm flying from Toronto to Vancouver in domestic business class. And that's an important distinction because usually what they call first class on domestic routes in the US is pretty terrible. In my experience, you just get a bigger chair that reclines a bit, but on this Air Canada flight, it's a proper lie-flat bed. I paid cash for this ticket as part of a self-funded round-the-world comedy tour in late 2022. Welcome to my channel, Markus Travels. I wanted to be at the airport very early because I had some problems with this round-the-world ticket the week prior. The full story is in a separate video and I will link to it at the end of this one, and you can also find that link in the description below. As a result of those problems, I was nervous about do I actually have a seat or not. Check-in in Toronto went super smoothly. I used this dedicated business class check-in desk here in row 1. Today I was traveling with hand luggage only because my connection in Vancouver to Tokyo was only 1 hour and 12 minutes. In Toronto, I was checked in all the way to Japan, but one aspect of this check-in process could be improved. At this time, to enter Japan, I needed proof of a COVID vaccination. I would have really preferred to show my documents for Japan here in Toronto, rather than doing it at the gate in Vancouver where there was much less time. Welcome to Toronto Pearson Airport. I made it through check-in and security with no major issues, which was a happy surprise. The only thing that went wrong at check-in was that for some reason my Starline's gold card was not registered on the first leg that I'm about to fly, the one to Vancouver. But that was quickly sorted out by the check-in agent. Now, let's go and find the Maple Leaf Lounge. Turns out I was wrong. The closest lounge type amenity is actually the Air Canada Café, which you see here behind me with the real espresso bar, fresh orange juice like this one, and you can also get yourself a delicious pastry like this pain au chocolat. Well, it turns out I spoke too soon. The pain au chocolat was actually quite disappointing and the cinnamon rolls were particularly atrocious, but the freshly squeezed orange juice was divine. This is clearly a newer facility, and arriving here in the early morning, this is a great place to grab some breakfast. Also, at 5 a.m., there is nobody here. The Air Canada Café offers handcrafted espresso drinks, fresh orange juice, mocktails, but as far as I can tell, there is no alcohol served in this lounge at all. There's also a range of other snacks. But the focus here is on food packed for you to take with you to the aircraft. There's a great selection of drinks, fruit, yogurt, muesli, all kinds of chilled foods are available here. The other lounge that I have access to is the Maple Leaf Lounge, whose most distinguishing feature is that it is impossible to find because the signage is very poor. I even asked for directions at the Air Canada service desk, and the employee did not just point me in the right direction, but he walked with me to the elevator that goes to the lounge. Now this proves either that the signage is indeed very bad, or he took one look at me, realized that I'm a hopeless case, basically took me there by the hand, and we will never know which one it is. But I do challenge you to look at this footage right here and point at the sign towards the lounge. The lounge, at any rate, is pretty old. On the right-hand side, as you enter, we have the business center area. Here we have cubicles, fax machines, and whatnot. On the left-hand side, we have the food-focused part. There is plenty to eat here and drink too, but some of it is a little bit unintuitive. I don't know if you're supposed to open these drawers to get the drinks out, or if this is only for the staff. This lounge definitely reflects an older style, but you can also see that there is a notice talking about construction going on here. We have come to the end of our stay here at the domestic Maple Leaf Lounge in Toronto. And if I were to summarize my findings with one word, it is dated. I'm happy that they do some construction to renovate this place, but in its current state, it is not really up to standards. Nonetheless, I did get myself a decent-ish breakfast. I parked myself here in the business center section of the lounge, which is a lot more quiet at this time. It is about 6:30 in the morning, and the main lounge is really filling up with a lot of people. Boarding is in about 25 minutes, so I think I'll stick around here, charge my phone, and I'll see you on the plane soon. Next time I'm here, I'm hoping to have a more modern experience. For the time being, the Air Canada Café is the better choice out of these two lounges. And by the way, I want to be back. As you will hear in the rest of the video, I had a really good time on Air Canada. The boarding process, however, is not part of that good time. It was chaotic. I had boarding zone number 1. But they brought out the Zone 1 sign only after they had announced that the boarding would start, which meant that people were confused as to where they should stand. I'm so used to jet bridges with glass sides that this non-see-through jet bridge feels a bit dingy. In Vancouver too, they use a jet bridge that doesn't have glass sides but has these solid walls instead. Our aircraft today is a Boeing 777-300ER. The seats are laid out in a reverse herringbone structure in a 1-2-1 layout. I already know from the flight over from Switzerland to Toronto that this is a great seat. Because I had those problems with my reservation being cancelled, I was assigned a seat in the middle. This is a very comfy seat with plenty of leg room. This ottoman is used in the bed mode. Under here there is also an oddly placed hook for your headphones. The menu on today's flight consists of breakfast items. I love the tray table design they use at Air Canada. I can get out of the seat even when the table is deployed. It really is a brilliant design, and you can also place the table at a few different depths. Okay, I don't think I can pronounce the word depths. You can place it at a few different positions. As soon as the aircraft door closes, with the crew's permission, I snag the last window seat in the cabin, 10 kilo. The seat on this side is very similar, but the hook for the headphones is even more awkwardly placed. I can barely even fit my camera under here to record. Air Canada has an amazing safety video. They're really leaning into their Canadian heritage. The video shows all the safety procedures out here in the wilderness. And my favorite is the seatbelt demonstrations with the dog sled. On this service, there were no pre-departure drinks. In one of the previous clips, you may have seen the lens cap for my camera lying on the table. It turns out that that was not a great place to put it. As we're taking off from Toronto, that lens cap disappeared somewhere in or under the seat. And you know how they say in the safety announcements that if something falls into your seat, don't try to find it yourself, ask the crew instead? Well, once airborne, I did ask a flight attendant for help. Keeping in mind that this was 100% my own fault, she was so nice in dealing with me. She put my seat in a position halfway between the bed and chair mode. She ripped off the seat padding, which is supposed to come loose for cleaning, trying to look for this lens cap of mine. It was so sweet. And it's not even that important to me, it's a $5 piece of plastic. The crew member was not able to reach the lens cap, but she even offered me an alternative. Once we land in Vancouver, they could get the maintenance crew to dismantle the seat looking for my lens cap. But since my connection in Vancouver was only 1 hour and 12 minutes, there wasn't enough time for that. Air Canada was exceptionally accommodating to my stupidity, and the crew really did an excellent job. Speaking of service, I know that some other YouTube airline reviewers have had some issues with service on board Air Canada. And in my previous Air Canada review, I did mention one thing, but on this flight, service was flawless. Now let's have a look at this business class seat. Next to the aisle, there is an armrest that you can adjust. Under the armrest, there is a little storage cubby that is usually used for trash, like the plastic wrapper from your blanket, for example. This gets emptied by the crew regularly throughout the flight. The in-flight entertainment has a pretty clever feature. You can choose your connecting flight, and it will display some information here. I picked Tokyo and my flight on ANA, and theoretically there should be info about the gate, for example, but it didn't really do much on this particular flight. As the meal service started, the crew distributed hot towels. Well, at least they were kind of moist-ish. The meal is served on a single tray. The appetizer for this breakfast was a fruit salad and a chia seed pudding with roasted coconut. For the main, there was a choice of 2 hot meals, either savory or sweet. The sweet would have been pancakes, but I went with the savory option instead. Parsley omelette, chicken sausage, cottage cheese, roasted potatoes with red pepper relish. You can see it here served with tomato juice. As for the quality of the food, I didn't make any notes about it, so I suppose it was fine. Welcome on board this Air Canada flight from Toronto to Vancouver. We are approximately halfway through the flight now. Just finished the meal service about 30 minutes ago, and I'm now sitting down, relaxing, and enjoying the movie on this excellent in-flight entertainment system. I have the seat in this relaxed position, which is halfway between the fully lie-flat bed and the upright seats, and I think that's a great mode for watching a movie. Let me demonstrate a little bit the privacy that you get in the seat. So if I pan the camera around like this, now you should only be able to see the back of my own seat and nobody else. And if I pan it all the way around in this direction, you should not be able to see any other passengers, just maybe one other person's screen. Let me check that on my screen here. Yeah, that looks good. So I think the level of privacy offered in this Air Canada business class seat on the 777ER is really, really good. The seat comes with a mattress cover that hooks onto the top of the seat. And I think this design encourages you to use it even when you're seated. The mattress cover is nice and comfy, but it doesn't go down the full length of the seat. It actually stops at the joint of the leg rest. In bed mode, the seat looks like this. On this flight, I had a very comfortable rest. The duvet is nice and fluffy. This is a very good hard product. As for the rest of the seat, there is a reading light over here. There's plenty of space for your legs. And here's that aisle side cubby with some actual trash in it this time. The seat has plenty of storage. Firstly, there's this whole shelf here next to the window. Secondly, you can lift up this cover and you have a lot more space. In here, there is a power outlet, there is the remote control for the in-flight entertainment, and there's also a lot of space for your personal belongings. Here you can see my key, my passport, and my Roller Coaster Club membership card. When I do stand-up comedy, I love talking about being a roller coaster enthusiast. Get in touch if you want to book me for a show. The bathroom is basic but functional. There's both tissues and towels. There's soap and hand cream and a trash can. One thing that's not basic is to have a window in the lavatory. Continuing the tour, there is a toilet, there is some Air Canada branding, and then there's me bringing an overpowered LED video light on planes. If you want to see what went wrong when I flew Swiss with that light, check out that video. There's a link in the description. Before we leave the bathroom, let's adjust the exposure so that we can actually look out the window. From this angle, you can see that there is quite a lot of privacy in this business class cabin. This is very nicely designed. There are many ways to adjust the seat that Air Canada uses. Here you see it in this relax mode, halfway between bed and seat. I didn't really take the time to check out the in-flight entertainment in any detail. Before I knew it, we were landing in Vancouver. From what I understand, we're actually 10 minutes early. That's going to help me reduce the level of stress of having that super tight connection into Tokyo and Narita. So is Air Canada the best way to fly coast to coast in North America? Compared to previous experiences flying US-based carriers in their so-called domestic first-class products, the Air Canada product is without a doubt the best I've tried. On this flight, Air Canada uses the same kind of seat that they use on their intercontinental flights, and that is fantastic. The food was not memorable, but the service was. It was outstanding. The ground experience was not particularly inspiring, but I am happy that Air Canada is renovating their lounge. One thing that's in desperate need of improvement is the Star Alliance round-the-world ticket system that I used to book this flight. Click or tap the screen right here for the full story. I'll give you one spoiler. It was actually an Air Canada employee who saved the day. Thank you for watching Markus Travels.